Hey, this is Caroline DeGrave. I'm an actress outside of LA, and you're listening to the Movie Rate Show.
It's time for the movie rate, and tonight's victim is actress Caroline DeGrave, that has played in many other projects, including Real Smile, amongst other things. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Still alive. It's been pretty hot lately. So, what's going on? How many projects you got going on this year? I mean, you've been promoting quite a bit of them so far.
Oh my God, I have a lot of things that I'm involved with. Horror movies that I'm involved with. One being The Butcher. I play a French tourist, and I am a victim of a terrible murder. And in another one, Normal Terror, I am an autopsy victim in which the killer performs an autopsy on me while I am still alive. So those are the very interesting roles, and I haven't been in horror before, so that's actually going to be really exciting. I hear that the special effects are pretty much edible. Like they're strawberry jam and like whipped cream and like all and marshmallows and stuff. So I'm like, are we doing a horror or are we making dessert?
I'm already hungry already.
Right? I was laughing because I had no idea any of these special effects and how they were made or anything like that. So I'm like, oh my God, it sounds like you're making an ice cream sundae. I don't know if I'm scared.
And having to work with all these other projects, I mean, do you think that an actor in some cases have to more likely take rather than to give back in some cases in order to succeed in their career?
I think everything is a give and take, and it depends on where your boundaries lie and how much you want to do for your goal. Everybody has a stopping point, or everybody has a point where they don't want to go any further, or there's certain things they won't do. In the entertainment industry, it does a lot of sacrifice. There is a lot of downtime. There's a lot of networking, and it's a grind. You know, it's constant phone calls, it's constant meetings and emails and sending out links. You never have enough experience for the next person. It's always like, well, get back to me, and yeah. I like your stuff, but you know what? This is not for us right now. We're looking for someone bigger. We're looking for someone with a different look. We want somebody with this. We want somebody with that. Rejection is a huge part of it. If you don't like rejection, I don't think you should do entertainment industry, because a lot of it is rejection, and you just have to keep going and keep going and keep going and pretty much say yes to everything that comes your way if you want to be successful. Like literally almost everything. I don't care if it's copy credit and they don't want to pay you, and you got to drive 3 hours to get there. If you don't have anything else going on, do it.
Yeah, you got to take those opportunities, man. You can't just simply say no to almost anything, because if you keep saying no and everything, guess what? You just lost out on a potential great opportunity that you're going to hate yourself later down the road, and like you're doing all these minuscule roles and like, oh great. So it's almost like you got to restart all over again. It's like here you are, you're on a good trailblazing, and then you say no to that one role that you might not know that it could have made, your career even better, and then you start all the way back doing old small time, productions and stuff like that, and then you're going to hate yourself even more than what you did then.
Well, especially when you're beginning, you can't afford to say no to anything. I mean, like, if you're trying to make it in the industry, you're not going to get hit up by, Bloomhouse or, Paramount right away. Sorry, it's just not going to happen unless you know somebody there or you're doing somebody. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
I mean, you have to know what you're worth and what can be worth to you in terms of going through these other projects and as well as development, as well as trying to test out which is really best for you, including between genres or between the types of projects that you're actually doing between roles as well.
Yeah, well, for me, as far as roles, I like to take a little bit of everything, and that's where I have found that I find out more about myself with every role that I take on. I know which ones I'm stronger at. I know which ones I tend to do not as convincingly, because acting is not pretending. Acting is not pretending. Acting is simply taking a character and putting her situation into my shoes and acting it out as if that was me really going through it, because I can't fake an emotion from the standpoint of another person. I can only do it from myself, because the authenticity of an actor really lies in who they are as a person. So I just take what that person on the script is going through or doing or whatever, and I just do it as I would do it in real life. Like, I would just be like, okay, this is Caroline. You know, if I have to be a detective or an FBI agent like I am in Undrafted, then how would I really do this? If I'm in an interrogation scene and I'm facing an accused killer or something, like, how would I really portray this, and how would I talk to this person? I'm not looking at it like, how would somebody else talk to this person?
What do you think is really more important, an actor's perspective view or a character's outcome on a character's performance?
I think there's a little bit of a combination there, but I really feel that if I portrayed the character as I would as myself, as Caroline, I think it's going to drive home the emotion more into the audience, because the outcome is a direct result of how well the performance is. If the goal is the character to have an outcome, I can only get that outcome if I play to my best ability the way I know how. The best way to do that is to be myself, because I cannot sell somebody else as well as I sell myself.
And that works with a lot of people too, because sometimes, I mean, some people take the character home with them. Some people immerse themselves in the character right there on the set. I mean, there's so many other possibilities. Sometimes you got to put yourself into it sometimes.
Yeah, with emotionally charged roles, they tend to really get under your skin a little bit more. I've had some very superficial roles where the minute they call cut and I'm done for the day, I'm wrapped. I don't care. It's like, it's something I leave behind and I just go do my own thing for the rest of the day. But there are other ones that I have felt a little bit more emotional residue when I've left. It just depended on how close it was to me or what was asked of me emotionally. I mean, sometimes to dig up certain emotions, you really have to go into it much deeper, and sometimes to get out of it takes a little bit of time. You know, I haven't had huge roles that have been super psychologically disturbing. Like, you know, I've read of some actors that have been in big movies that, you know, they had some PTSD after having to play something, and, you know, months of being on set of being that character. I could understand that would take a toll on somebody, and, you know, a lot of times they take a vacation after that.
Yeah, it's very rough, man. I mean, that's something that I've always said this before. I mean, it's a very dangerous thing to do, because when you're tapping into something that deep, that emotional type of aspect of things, I mean, once you're done with that character, how are you going to live on with your daily activities outside of the acting? I mean, how you know, when you go to the supermarket or something, and something, you know, falls, and then or somebody says something to another person in a conversation, and you react to that so swiftly in that character that you forgot who you were for that moment.
Yeah, and that's something I've thought about, taking on a role of, I don't know, like, remember Charlize Theron in Monster, I believe it was, where she had to, like, gain, like, 40 pounds, and she was playing this, like, lesbian psycho person. I heard that she had a really hard time with that. Other roles that are a little bit, like, if you have to play someone abusive, or if you have to play someone who's psychologically disturbed in some way, and, you know, it's months and months and months on a project. It's not just a day player. You're not there for 2 days or 3 days, and then you're done. This is something that you're carrying with you, and you're constantly kind of being in character so that you don't lose it.
Yeah, and performing as, you know, putting yourself as in just you could be a little bit at ease at the same time, but sometimes it might not always sell, because, I mean, you're playing you per se, but let's say that might transfer into another character that you're playing, but you're still playing you in a different character, and that could be a bad combination too.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us have had times in our lives that we haven't really been ourselves. I know that I've definitely had my life as a chameleon. I don't know if you know this. I haven't drank in 10 years. I was a heavy drinker, and I consider myself an alcoholic. Prior to not drinking anymore, I was a different person all the time. I lied to people constantly about who I was, what I was doing, what personality I had, and it was all based on what social setting I found myself in. It was like, okay, if I was in a dive bar, I was one way. If I was an elegant bar somewhere else, I had to talk a different way, portray myself a different way. I had to be a different person. I had to be a different Caroline, and it was all me. The more I did that, the more fractured I felt. And so I think as an actor, it's a little bit the same way, but it's also what makes it easier for me to be an actor, because I had that history of kind of splitting myself off, of being different people at different times. It's easier for me to sell, in a sense, because I had a lifetime's experience of it.
I know that. It's also a little bit of a healing process at the same time, because you're kind of getting over what you used to do, what you usually do on a daily activity of that kind of thing, and then when you start acting that role, and you're like, it's kind of comfortable, and you kind of forget about the fact of, you know, how kind of negative it was back then, but this is a more positive aspect in some way when you're playing this character.
It's a little bit like what I would call a defective character turned asset. It's, it's something that used to hinder me. It's something that used to be a social handicap that has turned into something that, like, oh my God, like, with the right motivation, this is something that could really help me. I found that to be true about a lot of human traits. I think in terms of decision making and what I do in my life, a lot of things that were not good, but only because of how I used it. It wasn't. It's like calling a gun evil. A gun is not evil. It depends what it's used for. The same thing as being able to act. I mean, if I'm lying to somebody, or I'm cheating on somebody, or if I'm somehow betraying somebody and I'm acting as their friend, that's a bad thing. But if I can take that and put it on screen and become that devious person to give that person life to the audience, then that's a good thing. It all depends on motive.
Oh yeah, definitely, and especially when you're venturing to other genres and still kind of carrying those same type of emotions that you did from that last role, it's kind of okay a little bit. Again, it goes back to that danger zone, and you don't want to go back into the danger zone again, having to really F up your mind when you get back home again.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, but I think it is just part of the job. It is hard. It is very emotionally depleting to be an actor. Spend all day doing different takes of the same scene, and even when you're doing it, by the time you've done it 20 times, you've even lost your own emotion. Like, okay, I'm becoming robotic. Like, I need to stop, take a break, go eat something, get on the phone, talk to my kid or a friend or something, and then I can come back with a little bit replenished of energy. Because it's like the first few times might be a little bit stiff because I'm getting into character, and then I feel like I'm really running with it. And then if it still doesn't work for the angle or for the lighting, or the director's not happy, or whatever is going on, then by the time I'm around the 25th, 30th, 40th time, I'm like, I'm calling cut on myself. I'm just like, no, I'm not doing this, and give me a few minutes.
It's like working like a machine, but at the same time, you're not a machine. You're going to run out of your emotion at some point, and it's not going to be good for the film, because it's not going to be good for the character. You're going to have to rework the lines or something to fit in, because then the director's going to be mad at you, and there's like all kinds of things that could happen. And even if it doesn't happen, you're going to know about it. Only you will know about it.
Exactly, and I think I've seen it in myself when I've seen it on the monitor, different scenes that played out, and I can tell when I'm tired of my scene. I can tell when the character is completely unemotional. I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, the angle's right, the lighting's right, you're happy, but I'm not happy with it, because I'm just saying my lines now. I'm not even putting anything behind it, because I've completely emptied out my emotional store. I'm like, I've got to go do something else, get coffee, go for a drive or a jog around the block. I'll come back. I'll be fine.
Oh, definitely, man. But when it comes to working with more reliable sources like online streaming and all these other companies that are like fundraising type companies and stuff like that, do you think this is actually starting to help the working actor getting more acting jobs, or is it actually making less money for them?
That's a very tough world. Crowdfunding is interesting. It used to be that indie filmmakers, actors, that kind of thing, you could raise a few funds. The bigger corporations that usually already have their own funding sources, or banks, or whatever sources they usually get, or the capital from their last project, they just recycle into the next one. They started to see it as an avenue of getting money too. The thing is, with more credibility comes with more money, right? So if Marvel is doing a thing or a movie or whatever, and what if they decided to, you know what, we're going to give everybody a thank you note if everyone decides to give $1. Okay. People are going to put money into that because they know it will go somewhere, and they're going to get accolades from it, and they can actually say as a point of pride, hey, yeah, I contributed to this project. But an indie filmmaker who has no idea where their film is going to go, how it's going to get distributed, all they care about is trying to make the stupid thing, and nobody has any certainty of what's happening. People are being asked to give $20, $15, $50, $100 for perks, and the perks are a button on your lapel. It's a pencil. It's, maybe you'll get a signed autograph of the big actor that no one knows about.
Yeah.
Compared to bigger projects, it doesn't help. It used to be something that helped a lot more, but now to get crowdfunding to work for you, you have to have a really well-done trailer. You have to have some people attached to it of some talent or of some caliber. You have to be attached to a bigger production a lot of times. You're usually in association with several different distribution companies or production companies, and by the time you've gathered all that, you've already spent a lot of money of your own trying to get the little buzz reel together to get more money. So you understand the problem is it takes money to make money. And if you're nobody and you just say, hey, I have an idea, and I wanted to make it a film, do you think anyone is going to give you anything? Especially when there are so many things that have credibility behind them, and they're asking for the same thing. It's like, well, I'd rather put my money something that I know is going to get made rather than this guy, and I don't even know if what I give him is going to be what he uses, because what if he doesn't raise all the money? What if he's asking for $5,000, if I give him $15, but maybe I'm the only person that gave it to him, do I ever get $15 back? No.
It's ongoing circle of that, because you have to keep it generated in some form, because you as an actor, it's going to be in trouble for you. It's not just the company that you're affiliated with. I mean, that's going to go like really bad with the company that you're with, but if you're by yourself, trying to do all this stuff, especially if you're making your own film, really bad.
And like how I did Real Smile, I posted that a couple days ago or a couple nights ago or something, and Real Smile was my first and only short film. And I filmed my first role in a feature film called Cataract Gold. I was one of the lead roles in this Western. Now, it hasn't sold, it hasn't distributed, so no one's really seen it, but it gave me a taste of what it was to be on set. And I saw a lot of different things of how they made film, and I also saw a lot of things that I would change. I took this knowledge with me because it was kind of bothering me. It was like in the back of my head, like, you know what? I think I could do this. But I didn't have any foothold in the industry at all. At this point, I'd only been on set, and the crew was like 5 people, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So I started reaching out on social media, that kind of thing, and I talked to some of the actors that I was in the movie with, and they led me to calling somebody else who was the founder of the Idlewild Film Festival. So I got in touch with that person, and I said, how do I get more roles if I have no idea where to go or who to ask, and I've only done one thing and no one has seen it? I mean, I don't know what to do. He was like, well, that's pretty easy. You make your own short film and put yourself in it. And I said, oh, I can do that? Because that was something I didn't even know. So I ended up raising the money, and then I made him the editor of it, so that way it could have a production company associated with it and give it credibility, and he would put it in his film festival when it's done. So that's what I ended up doing. So I filmed like 60 hours of footage for a 15-minute film. But I wrote it in 1 hour. I literally wrote it in 1 hour because I already had the idea and the concept in my head, kind of. And we went and filmed it, and then I did it on my own. I used it on my phone. I used a little Samsung phone on a selfie stick for some of the scenes. I had it on a selfie stick. I would put my phone down somewhere, and I would be doing something, and I would just go back and look and go back and look and go back and look. And then when I was happy with something, I would keep it and then discard the rest. So that's how I ended up doing it. And so we edited it at his house on Final Cut Pro. And so I chose the music, and I put myself down as the editor because he was actually sitting beside me helping me do it. So I'm not an editor myself, but because I was the one doing it, that's what I wrote down, and then I put down in association with his production company. And of course, it premiered at the Idlewild Film Festival, and so I got a little bit of accolades from there, and I met people, and I was able to talk to people about it, and I got up on stage and talked about my project. And then next thing I know is I got hit up on IMDb, of all places, of somebody who ran a short film competition the next year. So he emailed me, and he's like, one of my associates saw this. Can you submit it to the competition? I was like, okay, sure. So I did. And then they gave me a special mention award. That was my first laurel. It just kind of went from there. I was able to talk to different people and reach out to different people. I started adding more people in the industry on social media, and I was just sending my little links everywhere. Real Smile went everywhere, got views and that kind of thing. I just kept following through it. I just kept sending people stuff and then meeting people. I don't take no for an answer. I don't know how to really attribute my success in anything except for I am persistent as hell, and I don't take anyone's rejection as an end all. I just go down the next avenue. Like, I just find somebody else that will do it. If somebody says no, I go to the next person. If someone says no, I go to the next person. And I just keep doing that. And I also believe in myself. It's pretty simple. I want to do this for a living, and no one's going to tell me what I'm going to do with my life.
Definitely positivity is the best choice ever. And keep going forward, keep doing what you do. And go ahead and plug in anything that you would like to promote, any websites, any expected releases, and so forth.
I've done a few things. I was in a movie, Hard Visit, by Josh Mitchell. He does a Wicked Pizza is entertainment in LA. I was in the 1 Year Pact by Gina Carey. I was a stand-in for Becca Tobin in a recent release called Sister's Wedding, and I think that one's on Hallmark Channel. And I was a stand-in for there, but it was a big production that was here out in the Coachella Valley. You can find me on IMDb. You can find me on Facebook at Caroline DeGrave Actress.
There you have it, everybody. That is actress Caroline DeGrave.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Mike.